this whole situation with everybody. It's a point of, is your glass half full or half empty? And it would suck to be half empty every day.
It's so easy just to say money is a symbol of success because it's tangible. We can see it. We'll talk about it. And it's going, okay, if I make X amount of money, that's gauge for my success. How has money or these other external tangible things influenced what you think success is?
You know, we think of money as success. I've actually saw great CEOs. So I belong to an organization called Big Shoulders Fund, and I've been giving back since I've been young. And even people growing up in my town would be like, oh, well, you know, they're really successful, they're rich. But then I started realizing what made them successful wasn't necessarily the dollars that they had, but they're volunteering, they're giving scholarship, they're giving back at their church. Or even like a successful business owner, when I think of like a CEO of a company, I actually don't really care how much they make. It's seeing those other things that mean so much more, but success was not the letters behind your name. It was how well you could raise a family and if your kids were well behaved.
Now it's someone's external success being pushed on you where they're going, hey, that's great, but we see success as, can you raise a family? How is this going? In this case, like cultural or gender roles or things that are being pushed on you that weren't necessarily your decision. Now you're sitting there as a graduate, a doctor, having your own office and like, oh, that's great. But, and then they push their ideas of success onto you.
I know that you've talked a lot about like leadership and things like that. And that's what I think makes a great leader, is figuring out what you define success as. And then how do you evolve that to make it be you? Because I think so many people like try to think of, back to the whole money thing. Well, if I make $10 million, I'm going to be successful. I'm going to be happy. But in the long run, that's not what defines somebody. And if you're just driven by that, you're not going to be successful, because I think other things are going to fall apart.
And I feel like that's where the challenge comes in, where you have immediate needs. You're like, I need to put food on the table, I need to pay rent, you need money to survive. But it's really hard to make money that thing you're passionate about or the thing that drives you. Or I feel like a lot of times with a lot of these great leaders and these great businesses, the money is a byproduct of their business or their leadership or some of the other characteristics or values that drive them forward. You kind of broke it down into 4 areas or like guiding principles of how you define success. 1 being people and relationships. 2, find something that brings you passion. 3, a mentor, like we talked about, whether it's short-term or long-term. And then number 4 is get involved. What was your experience, or how did this start to, like, what was the process behind it?
I was going to do nursing, and then I was pre-med, and then I found audiology through a professor. He's the one who really pointed me to Ohio State for graduate school. Part of the reason I went there, kind of that whole building relationships, is a former teacher of mine, Gail Whitelaw, was a former president of the American Academy of Audiology. And my dad always taught us, you never know who you're going to meet and when it's going to matter. Going to Ohio State and having Gail Whitelaw, who was very involved in our profession of audiology, was going to make a difference when I needed a job. That's when I started realizing that being genuine, which people had told me over and over, your bedside manner is great, you're great with working with people, but those real authentic relationships has lasting impact. And so that's how I came here. That's how I met Steve. That's how I bought Chicago Hearing Services. But I also realized that you can't be an owner of any business and not have good people around you. Aligning myself with good relationships has then helped me go further doing what I'm passionate about instead of kind of trying to float through doing everything.
I think it's funny when we see that human side of us come out, or more that like animalistic evolutionary traits. And I think things like building relationships goes back to community mentality. We want to help and protect the people that we're close to and that we care about, and building good relationships helps extend that. So we inherently do want to help people around us that we care about and have a relationship with. People can pretty easily tell when someone's either lying to them or just not, or being dishonest or disingenuous with their behavior. So it's crazy how impactful just being honest and genuine with your relationship buildings can have an impact to your success.
Those leadership things that are in books, you can't teach something like that about the genuine. You can talk about it, but how do you teach a college kid that, or a high schooler, or a 5th grader for that matter? But it's so important because, like you said, people can read people pretty easy, especially people that you want to align with.
Yeah. how else has experience helped shape what you see as success, or even like set those goals?
Somebody who lives kind of that sheltered, this is all I want to do, that's going to be very hard to be a business owner. If you have blinders on, good luck. I think sometimes I tell my students who are with me, finding out things you hate is just as important as finding things that you like. If you would have asked me 11 years ago when I graduated, I was not the same audiologist, and I think you constantly change. Me as a business owner, I'm not the same as I was when I bought the practice 4 years ago. But like that's part of growing, and that's the awesome part, actually.
Yeah. I feel like that's a big lesson that is hard to learn. And a lot of people go a very long time in their life without learning that failure is part of the process and you will fail. So it's not to like get rid of failure, because if you're trying to do anything that's new or trying to be successful or reach your goals, you're going to fail. You're gonna mess up along the way. Like, one, we're humans, so we'll make mistakes. But also you're doing something new. You don't have the experience or practice to do these things. And I think that's just so important to just have that mindset of knowing that it's going to happen. It's just how you react to it and what you do next, and be open to it.
But I think instilling in that perseverance that you get up after you fail and you learn from that experience and change what you're doing, or go down a different path, or hit the ball differently, or whatever that is, really builds resilience, and that makes you a successful adult.
Object of success is that A grade. However, really the success is learning. Like, did you learn the subject? And it's not necessarily reflected in that grade if you can comprehend, because there's a difference between adapting and using the information versus just recalling it for a test. So that's where I feel that we have a hard time actually being able to identify success for ourselves, because we're just not taught how to. And we have systems that don't facilitate the process of identifying success properly for us.
Breeze by, you can get your A or your B. I mean, depending on, I wish that there would be more of those type of things, that more critical thinking. It's kind of sad because it really took me till graduate school to get some of those classes. And one professor who was like, grades don't matter. I want you to know the material. I don't care what grade you get. And like, oh crap. That's always how I've been taught. Now I have to change my way of thinking, You
had probably on the scale of what is success, some level of stability as being one of those attributes, saying, hey, if I can minimize stress and have some stability, that is part of my scale of success here. And because you put more of a focus on those items, like having ongoing marketing, or having good cash flow, or building relationships, when stuff happens like this, all hell breaks loose, it doesn't rock the whole business, because you had these other things in place from how you defined success earlier.
Let's embrace it, because like you said, you can either like crash and burn of like, this really sucks, and get into a depression, which you're seeing that, right? Or you can be like, well, I'm going to enjoy it and take what I can the best to my ability. And I think that that's for life. But I really think that this whole situation with everybody, it's a point of, is your glass half full or half empty? And God, it would suck to be half empty every day if that's my attitude.
And I think what a lot of people miss is that it's not about blocking bad emotions, right? It's more about identifying and being aware of them, because it's okay to feel bad and to be a little down. It's just not to get stuck in that rut, dictate your behavior and your next steps. You'll find what the right next steps are through the experience that you take, as long as you're not sitting still. How would you identify what is a good or best decision?
You have to be selfish in a way, but not so selfish that it's about me. It's got to be what's best for your employees, for your patient, whatever that is. What's best for company, because the minute you kind of get selfish on yourself, it's not going to be a good decision.
Saying that, okay, this is the best decision doesn't mean it's going to be successful. Like there's a chance it will fail, and be ready for it. But you've done your due diligence, you've done your research, you've done enough planning to go, hey, you know what? Now is the time to take action. I got to get out of planning state, and we have to see if this actually works.
At some point, nobody knows your business like you do. Like, you have to commit to that business, and you have to make that decision, because nobody's going to have the right answer, because they don't know your business like you do. I really think that whole living in fear versus looking at back to that whole positivity and what we define as success, you can either this whole pandemic is a perfect example. You have people that are living in fear, making decisions based out of fear, or based out of, this is what's best for me and my environment. And I really think that that's how you have to approach being a business owner.
Success is looking at more than just now. It's looking more long-term. If you're looking long-term, you can make better decisions now, knowing that you can navigate there, because success isn't your next step. It's a series of steps. It's a journey in a direction, and it might be twists and turns and forks in the road. But the further out we can set our goals or our vision or have some guiding principles that can help us identify what to do now. So then that keeps us from panicking. Situation you would find or see a young audiologist in where you want to give them advice. The situation that almost always happens when someone just gets out of school and opens their business and you see them and you're like, oh, if they just knew this now, or if I could just tell them that, this could make their life better.
I think one of them is forming sound, solid relationships with people, whether it be in your career field or with other experts in the area, but also don't open your own practice. There's so many older audiologists that are looking to retire, buy one. And to really, truly learn the business, do the gopher work. Being a gopher, doing grunt work isn't a bad thing. It's only going to help you to understand the processes better, to make you a better boss.